So we're gonna start first with the day 4 content, and then we move right into the day 5 content, which is basically playing with arpeggios, playing a song using arpeggios and improvisation. So at this stage, you should be able to play fairly simple and with comfortability the 2 scales, that is C major scale, as well as A minor, which is the relative major of C. And you have to do this, you must be able to do this with both your left and your right hand. You should also be able to play the scale in contrary motion with both hands. And then what we will do today, in addition to all that, including the finger exercises, is that we will then look at the chromatic scale and the whole tone scale. Now, let us start right away, maybe as we have been doing with our finger exercises. So I will do the bars 14 to 19, and after that 20 towards the end of the exercise. At this stage, please make sure you have the music sheet printed and somewhere maybe in your file. Now, how this works is, I'm just introducing you to a new concept here of reading music, and in this situation, we are encountering what they call staccato. Previously, we discussed legato. Now we're discussing staccato, which are 2 contrast styles of playing. The staccato is symbolized by the dot, which will either be below a note or above the note. Now, because of in the bass clef, our notes have the stems going down and the dot is above, but then in the G clef, because the stems are going up, then the dot is below. So how it will play, and the audio is there also to emphasize this, but basically the sounds have to be disconnected. As you play from one note to the other, there has to be a clear disconnectivity with a bit of stress. So it will go like, then you have to keep that one because there is no staccato. So just watch out for that part as you do the finger exercises. The next one is this one here, and I have definitely deliberately put these 2 together so that you see the contrast between staccato and legato. Legato sounds have to be joined. As you move from one note to the other, there shouldn't be a disconnection. So because this line moves from this note here in bar 22 to the last note of the piece, that means as you play all the notes in between, there should never be a disconnection. They have to be smoothly joined in your play. The music piece, that is the audio that is accompanying the music sheet, has that. So listen carefully to it as you practice these finger exercises. So getting into the chromatic scale, which is also known as the master scale or the mother scale. This is basically a scale that is composed of mainly semitones. There is no tone here. You will remember in our major scale, it's mainly tones and then semitones between 3 and 4 and 7 to 8. But when it comes to the chromatic scale, we are playing semitones only. And this is how it will sound. Take note, this scale comprises of all 12 notes of music. That is the naturals and the sharps or flats. So how we play it, the fingering is quite unique because at this stage, we don't want you to use the thumb for playing black keys. So how you will do this scale is do it as follows, and I want you to also listen to how it sounds. So I've got my thumb on middle C. It is in C major. You can start the chromatic scale, by the way, in any key. So it is in C major, so my thumb will be on C. And then I will play all the black keys with my middle finger. Now you will see the index finger will help me to transition between E and F. Okay, that's where it's going to be quite useful. So playing it nice and slow, the chromatic scale would sound like this. Going down. Okay, so it's mainly semitones, no tones here. And obviously then the contrast, the opposite of a chromatic then will be the whole tone scale, which is purely tones. So basically you skip is a half step to move to the, there has to be a half step between each note in the scale. Okay, so this is how you will play the whole tone scale. Now, because I have to play the black keys and I don't want the thumb to play on the black keys, I will use a different fingering, a unique fingering as well. So I will go 1, 2, then I go 1, then I go 2, 3, 4, and then 5 finishes on C. So the whole tone scale will sound like that. So I will play it again, ascending and descending. That is going up and then down. It will go like this. So that is that. Now you may sound, but that melody does not sound good and all that. Why are we doing this? You're gonna get musical pieces that are written in different intervals and which may even follow the same principle, but not with all the tone scale or chromatic scale. You need to be flexible as a pianist such that your fingers can play between any distance. So remember, all these scales and the finger exercises are actually helping us to build strength for play, and that includes playing fast enough as a piece would require. Now, we're gonna get to chords, which is, in my opinion, the heart of any song, because basically in a chord, is like the joint harmonic voices in any musical piece. Your soprano, alto, tenor, bass, all those notes form a chord. So you will realize actually if you look at any hymn book that is written in a major scale, what will happen is the first notes of each part, that is the soprano, alto, the tenor, and the bass, all those notes are actually formed on the tonic triad. In other words, they are actually formed on the first degree of the scale, or on the chord that is played from the first degree of the scale, and that chord is a major chord. In this case, the major chord in C will be C, E, G, will be comprised of the notes C, E, G. But if you play C, E, G, that is basically Do, Mi, So. That's the notes Do, Mi, So, which means any hymn will actually have the notes. The first note of any hymn will actually have the notes Do, Mi, So. They can be spread, maybe they can be swapped around depending how the hymn writer or the composer rather planned the melody. The bottom line is there's gonna be a Do, there's gonna be a Mi, there's gonna be a So. That's why when someone asks you for the key, what will you be doing? You basically play the tonic triad, the chord, the arpeggio that is formed on the first note of the major scale. So here are the chords that are formed on each degree of a major scale. From the first degree, we have a major chord with the note C being the root note, okay, or the first note of the chord. The chord that is formed on the second degree of a major scale is always a minor scale. And the one that is formed on the third degree of a major scale will also be a minor chord. I meant to say a minor chord on the major scale. And the chord which is formed on the fourth degree of the scale, that is the fourth note, it will be a major chord. Number 5 will also be a major chord. The one that is also formed on the submediate, that is 6, will be a minor chord. And lastly, there's a unique chord that will also form up on the 7th note of a major scale. And this is usually a diminished chord. and I have seen hymns that have diminished chords. I've seen hymns that have minor chords. We sing them, we play them. So it is actually important to know all these chords and be able to play them. In summary, this is how the chords would look like. Just take a note. Typically, I prefer playing a chord, okay, and not just as 3 notes, but always including the 4th note. Of course, we are beginners, so this is a good practice. When we get to 7th chord, 9th chord, 11th chord, this will not be a need. But because we are starting, I would suggest that when you play a tonic triad, or not necessarily tonic triad, but any chord that you play, if you started on C, finish it on C as well, especially when you're going to play it as an arpeggio, that is as a broken chord instead of a solid chord. The difference between a solid chord and a broken chord is how you play them. They are essentially comprised of the same notes. As an example, if I take C major right now, let's just put up this piano here. If I take C major, which is just C, E, G, if I play it solid, that's what will be the case. But if I play it broken, then it becomes an arpeggio. All right. The same thing will happen with F major. And the same thing will happen with G major. And then the same case with D minor. And then E minor. Okay, E, G, C actually. All right, and then if not E minor, we will then have A minor again. Okay, that's how E minor would sound. I hope you're picking something up here. Minor chords are usually sad, and major chords are usually happy and bright. That is the simplest way to differentiate between this type of minor chords. If you look at the diminished chord, it's like double sadness in that chord there. Now, I don't want you to stress about memorizing all these chords. I just need you to know a major chord. Then I'll show you how you can derive a minor chord from a major chord. I will also show you how to derive a diminished chord from a minor chord, or even better, with reference to the major chord. Now, I'm going to play all these 3 major chords that I have showed you, and we're going to derive a general formula of playing any major chord. Let's start with C major. C major has the notes C, E, G. And take note, I am using the fingers 1, 3, and 5. Now, what is the distance between these notes? You will notice that between the first and the second note, there are 3 semitones. What are those? That is C sharp, D, and D sharp or E flat. So there are 3 semitones. But then between E and G, there are 2 semitones. So that is actually the formula. It is not an accident, because you play F major. Guess what? The same rule is there. You have 3 semitones first, and then you have 2 semitones. Same thing with G major. 3 semitones and then 2 semitones. Okay? So 3 semitones, that's the first gap. 2 semitones, that's the last gap. That is the principle for any major chord, which means if I have given you this, then you can play any major chord from any key. If I asked you to play a major chord on F sharp, what would it be? It would be something like that. Check. Here is F sharp. Now do 3 semitones. Then your second note should be there. Now do 2 semitones. Then your third note should be there. So at this stage, actually, I've given you a formula that you can apply to any note to form a major chord. Check. Okay, those are all the major chords that will be formed on the black keys. If you want all major chords on the white keys, they will go something like that. Those those will be the major chords that are formed out of the white keys. I give you this challenge to actually go figure out the remaining major chords. Okay, now what makes a minor chord? Well, the principle is simple. Let us take D major, for example. If I take D major, as you can see, I must have 3 semitones and then 2 semitones. Those are the gaps between my notes. So this will be D major, D, F sharp, and A. Now, if I want to play D minor, the rule is very simple. Simply lower the middle note of the chord. Lower it, or in casual terms, they would say flatten the middle note. And what does a flat do? A flat lowers a note by a semitone to the left. A sharp raises a note by a semitone to the right. So let's flatten F. When we flatten F, we have to then get to F natural. So that would be D minor. Okay, so I hope you see that D, F, A. So D major, D minor, as you can hear that said sound there, which means if I play C major and I play C, I must flatten the middle note so it will become F. So the same thing with E major. If I can play first E major, all right? Okay, this is E major, but then if I want E minor, I must then flatten the note here. That is the note that I have flattened. Yes, so this is actually what E minor is. So there's my E major, and there is my E minor. Okay, so please take note of that. All right, then the next thing that I will do is to show you how the diminished chord works. How does a diminished chord work? Well, look at this, very simple again. I just go to a major chord. Maybe let's start with C. Now, to get the diminished chord, guess what? All you have to do is to lower both the last 2 notes in that chord. So I must flatten. So I must flatten the E and I must flatten the G. So then it will sound something like this. That is how E minor would sound. So let's recap. Major chord. Now, to form a minor chord, flatten the middle note. Another way to refer to this, some will say flatten the 3, because it is typically 1, 3, 5. Major chord is formed by the first, the third, and the fifth note of a scale. So that's why some will say, no, just flatten the 3. So instead of that, we'll just go like that. Now, to form a diminished chord, you have to flatten both 3 and 5. And in this case, it will sound like this, C diminished. What was C major? And then C diminished. It's actually a very nice chord when played nicely in a song, when embraced in a song. It can make your song very beautiful. It can make it nice and decorative. All right. Now, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go to our lovely song, God is So Good. I hope you still remember it and you have the music printed. So here's our lovely song that we learned, and guess what now? We're going to play this song using arpeggios. Okay, now this is where the numbers that I have put up here are going to be quite useful. What numbers are those? The 1s, the 5s, and the 4s. In other words, those Roman symbols. That's where they're going to be useful. So I have done this because I realized that, look, sometimes a musical piece, even a simple hymn, can be quite intimidating. So what I do is I figure out the soprano notes, and then I will use chords for the rest. Remember what I just said? I said to you, in essence, or in a typical situation, the notes of a 4-part harmony are actually a chord. So instead of stressing yourself, you just have to figure out the chord played on the left and just play and soprano on the right. So far, yesterday, what did we do? The chords that are involved in the song is C, E, G, and then it's the fourth also, and then it's the dominant, which is G in this case. So instead of playing rigid, remember this is how it sounds like at the moment. God is so good. God. And then we go. God is so good. He is so good to. So here it's like you just singing with a singer, but then let's bring some sense of accompaniment to this. Now look at the sequence I have written here. In each bar, I have just put one Roman figure or one symbol, which means for bar number one, just play the arpeggio that is formed on the first note of the scale. In this case, it is C major. And what did I say? Just finish the arpeggio with the first note. So it will be like this. All right. Then when we get to bar two, instead of just playing that chord, play the arpeggio. Instead of playing the solid chord, then play the arpeggio. That's that. And then what about bar number three? Well, number three, you are back at one. What about bar number four? You are still at one. And what about bar number five? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 6. I think at 6, that's where we go to 4. Then just play the chord which is formed on 4, and that is F major. And then that 5, and then you are back to 1. Now let's see how this sounds with arpeggios. Listen to this. I think that sounds better. I think that sounds better. That sounds melodical. That sounds exciting. So you can allow the singer to go with the melody and you just have fun with the arpeggios. So that's gonna be the key thing. But then again, you know the singer is gonna sing the do do mi re. God is so good. So what if you don't want to play exactly as the singer plays? Isn't there something that you can do, maybe not so that you don't sound exactly like the singer? Now, this is where improvisation comes in. So you're going to improvise on both the left and the right. So you're not going to play exactly as the singer will sing on the right hand. If anything, you can maybe, if it's a solo, you can then play an alto note. If maybe it's a duet, play out and all that, then you can maybe try putting the tenor, or even better, you can still play an arpeggio on the right. You can just mix them up on both hands, and that is where your skill of not chromatic, but contrary motion scales comes in. Because you have practiced this, you can just now play around. If you're going left, up on the left hand, you can go down on the right hand, and that kind of a thing. So let's see how can we improvise. Maybe we know the singer is gonna go, God is so good. Now, what can we do maybe to make this song much better? How can we amplify it? So I'm just gonna get lost here in this and just bring around my creativity on both hands. But I will stick to arpeggios on the left hand. So let's try some sound here. So again, you basically you are throwing in what others would refer to as passing notes. Okay, so yes, the singer is going to hold the note, and maybe before moving to the next note, then what you'd rather do then is, okay, throw in passing notes, throw in the notes that will help the singer to move nicely to the second note. So just fill in the gaps, in other words, where they are putting an arpeggio and maybe some nice passing notes there. So that's how it is. And guess what? That's not the only way to think about it. I could wake up on another mood and say, no, instead of putting it like that, I want to put it like that and all that. And this is when you're gonna appreciate the creativity of playing with different musicians, because we get to think differently on songs. So I want to give you this one as another assignment to say, go play, but then try and be creative on this. Instead of sticking to that, then just try and be creative on the or with some melody there. All right. I don't know what you would think, but I am sure there will be some musical creativity that comes with that. So that is basically the basics of improvisation. That's one thing that you can do in trying to make a song sound bright, nice, and lovely. All right. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to appreciate you and thank you actually for the time that you have spent with me this weekend on this piano basic course. If you are in need of more sessions, then this is how we're gonna work from now onwards. If you feel you need more sessions, I mean, what will we be discussing in those sessions? We are literally talking about the remaining 12 keys that are there. We are also discussing more stuff on chords. There are other chords that I have not spoken about. It's not just the minors and the diminished. There are augmented chords. There are seventh chords, for example. There are ninth chords, 18th chords, and all that, which are used for different genres, by the way. So we discussed that there's more on scales. We will look at the formula for a minor scale. There's another nice scale called the pentatonic scale, but even more interesting, talk about the modes, the different modes of a scale, the modes. Some of you maybe have encountered the words Dorian mode, the Philian mode, etc. But then we will also look at principles of composition. And this is where we will discuss improvisation. This is where you will be able to study a piece and predict how it is likely to go. In other words, this is one of the things that will help you to play a song, even if you do not know how that song goes. So you will listen to the singer, maybe you listen to them singing the first stanza, and from there, by just listening the first stanza, you have already picked what others would say a chord progression on how that song is supposed to go. We will also discuss fundamental concepts like intervals, and we will then talk about this one, musical instruments and their families. Okay, so this is very important if you see yourself playing multiple instruments. So you want to play, after this, you want to play the saxophone, you are more than welcome to be my guest also there. I can show you a few things, or the trumpet, I can embrace that as well. And I'm currently having a journey with the violin, so maybe you may join me there as well, which is rated as one of the most difficult instruments, or you can join me on the harmonica as well, or even the recorder, right? So if you want to know that, what is the relationship between that? For example, if you pick a saxophone or trumpet, you can't play in the same key that you play on the piano. Okay, so you need to know that there are transposing instruments, and how do you know? How do you figure out a concert pitch key with transposing instruments? We will also talk about modulation or transposition. You see, sometimes as a singer, you don't want to be monotonous. You don't want the song to be monotonous. So what do you do in such a case? So the modulation will feature things like how do you move from one key to another key. Okay. So if maybe you have had enough of playing God is so good in C major. something like that. So how then do I move from one key to another? That's modulation. We will talk about that as well. And here's the beautiful one: melody and rhythms. So some songs don't really require arpeggio. Some songs just are arithmetic. So there's just a constant kind of rhythm that is really visible or dominant in a song. And as a pianist, also you can't help it but recognize that rhythm. What do you do? How do we play rhythms and things like that? So that's another element that we have not covered here, but it is there. And we are to discuss more. Now, these sessions will still be online. I mean, currently we are gathered in here from different places. So it will still be online, and it will be a 60-minute lesson structure. And I have just kind of given a layout of how it's going to work. And this is how it will work. And I have also put up here the learning pathways, the ways in which you can learn this. So I'm offering two options. There's a group session, which will be minimized also, kept to a maximum of 5 people, but a minimum of 3 people. All right. So it could be 3 people, it could be 4 people, it could be 5 people, maybe on the same learning level. So here you want to say, okay, I want to learn from other people as well, see how they think and all that. You wanna also add to your creativity of improvisation and so forth. And you also want to maybe someone to message you, remind you, and say, hey, are you done with this assignment and all that? I have done this, send me your audio, that kind of a thing. So that's the benefit of group sessions. Otherwise, you can go for individual lessons which are personalized and suited for your needs. So you're like, okay, I know something about the piano, but I just want to add to my knowledge what I know. I want to move on further and all that. So I just want to focus on chords. So I don't want to learn composition and all that stuff. I just want to know chords. I want to know how chords can be inverted and all that. So in this case, then we will do what? We will tailor a curriculum suited for your needs. And here, of course, you are self-disciplined and able to do that. So the options are for these 2 learning pathways. Option number 1 is what we call the piano V1 option. And this is for individuals or groups that are saying, okay, we are at this level of play. Can you just show us this, all right? Can you just show us this part of the piano, like this aspect of chords? Or basically you just come with a specific topic, or you say, okay, I need to know how to transition. I need to know how to move from one topic to the other, something like that. You basically tell us what you want to achieve in your musical career, and we tailor-make a curriculum for you and take you through the steps to achieving what you want. So that's piano V1. For piano V2, this is where you say, look, I want the same style of teaching that is being done with the beginner course. So I want a step-by-step continuation. In other words, you're saying you still want basic theory, and you still want to see how the theory is being put into practice, not skipping anything, but thoroughly so. And this comes also with a free consultation session. This is piano V2. We call this one V2. And so it's all up to you which choice maybe you think would be suitable for you. Once you have decided, do drop us a WhatsApp message on the number that is here on your screen, and you continue from there. I must just say up front, these lessons, because now they will be scheduled and specifically suited for you and all that, later on your request time, the available request, they will come at a price, but I can assure you we are very much reasonable with that pricing as well. So this will bring us to the end of the week, a course that, on average, a beginner would maybe take at least a month to complete. You have been able to do this in a week. I was chatting this afternoon with one of the 12 p.m. students, and they were thrilled. They're like, I just got interested and fascinated in all this, and they are there playing. They were playing chromatic scales and the whole tone scale. So it's been amazing to interact actually with some of you
on the progress that you are making, and do keep those questions coming. We will keep posting on a weekly basis. We will keep posting. We're gonna do a hymn series, and that hymn series will just be a skeleton, a basic, an overview of how you can improve your play of hymns and so forth. Otherwise, I will end it here. If you do have a question, do throw it now, or otherwise you can always message us on the WhatsApp line. Thank you.